r/genealogy. You are probably not descended from royalty in any way you can prove. Yeah, I said it. I know that coming here after 12 intense minutes of research, looking at BS trees online is exciting to tell us how you are descended from royals. And those royals themselves have trees that go back to 312 AD. Wow, that guy was a Roman general in Syria and then totally founded the Welsh farming family that you descend from, and it is all completely legitimate and in an unbroken line. All you have to do is keep clicking onto the next ancestor. Amazing! Well, in my continual quest to be the grumpy old person ranting that someone is wrong on the internet, I just have to sum up my frustration with this notion. I think it's the equivalent of the Cherokee princess myth that every American has. There is either a Native American princess in your heritage or your ancestors were royalty in Europe, or both. I've seen some great explanations on this sub as to how the Cherokee myth came about, and I really have nothing similar to offer to explain why the royalty idea is so popular, except speculation. Bullshit family stories. It seems like it was quite common for people to pass down stories about their wealth back in the old country, and it makes sense that some of these would be true. After all, a lot of younger sons did emigrate abroad, and obviously some of them reproduced, and someone has to be descended from them. But family stories alone can't be trusted as historical fact, and you need to investigate, as things get very messy as they get passed down. For example, a post on here seriously cited the fact that his proven ancestor had an inn that apparently had the coat of arms of a noble family who lived 30 miles away as proof that they were the same family. Through this link, he claimed to be able to get back to the aforementioned Syrian general. So leaving aside the complete speculation, this is also showing a seriously lack of historical context. In England, it's very, very common for pubs to be called after local nobility. There are a million Duke of Devonshires where I live, for example, and none of their landladies are claiming to be the next Duchess. It's just not historical proof on any level whatsoever, and we can see how a family story about an inn is somehow twisted and used as proof of supposed noble ancestry. 2. Bullshit online trees, the worst contender. Every person who cites their royal heritage on this sub has done so with the help of absolutely crap, made up, invented, nonsense online documentation, whether on Wikitree or Ancestry or Find a Grave. Example: someone claimed to be related to Henry VIII, my favourite bullshit story of all. Usually they claim to be descended from him, which is very easily dismissed as bullshit, but this one interested me because they instead claim to be descended from his uncle, Jasper Tudor. He didn't have any children from his marriage, or acknowledge any legitimate children in his lifetime, or will. But based on a Find a Grave page for an imaginary daughter, this person claimed descent. The proof was a claim from someone that they were Jasper's grandson, 40 years after his death. On this basis, an entire family has been created and memorialised on Find a Grave, and people are seriously tracing their lineage from this person. We talk a lot on here about how ancestry family trees are not to be trusted, but I would add most online sources to this unless you personally check the sources. I have an ancestor on Wikitree that is impeccable sourced, but sadly they have merged two brothers called John into one guy, but they have a reference and exact page numbers, which have obviously just been copy and pasted in every page about this guy. If anyone read the book themselves, they would realise it was actually two brothers, but people just copy what they've seen, assuming it's reliable. It really is not. Check the sources yourself. 3. Bullshit notions of worth or interest. Maybe this is the inherent Republican in me, but it slightly offends me on some level that people are so desperate to claim royal descent. Your ancestors survived incredibly tough times in order to reproduce. You should be proud of that. I can trace all my family lines back to the early 1800s or late 1700s, and on every one of them people were working as miners, farmers, labourers, weavers. Why should I ignore that and instead pretend that 6 generations before that we were kings? I like knowing about the actual lives they lived, the family that were all bilingual in Welsh and English, except the father, who only spoke Welsh. I like finding marriage certificates where the woman could sign her name and realise it was because her father worked as a school teacher in between farming. He was out on the hills day in, day out, but he still took the time to ensure all his children were literate, which wasn't common at the time. I like reading that someone was a hand-loom weaver and having to find out what that entailed, and seeing that the structures basically took up a whole room in a house that only had 2 windows, as shown on census records. Can you imagine having to weave wool in that lack of daylight? These people were fucking amazing. Find out what your ancestors actually did. 4. Bullshit maths. Yes, we've seen you work out how everyone is apparently descended from Charlemagne, and we all have 10 million ancestors, so really everyone is descended from nobility. The thing is, I'm not sure Americans realise how rare nobles are. My entire heritage is British, Scottish, Welsh and English. If anyone could claim to be the descendant of Henry VIII's court poodle or whatever, it would be me. But for every king there are thousands and thousands of people who are not. Seriously, look up the feudal system. You need thousands of peasants to support a few knights and one king. They are really not as common as you think they are. Just based on probabilities, you are more likely to be descended from one of 5,000 peasants than you are from one king. Now, obviously, some people are descended from nobility. For example, if there are any grandchildren of dukes or whatever browsing here, it would be easy for them to prove their ancestry because it's all extensively documented. I'm not claiming no one is. I'm just saying that statistically it's unlikely that you are, and in extension to that, it's even more unlikely that you can prove it. I have been noticing this for years here, and never once has anyone ever proven their line. For every single person that claims this heritage, never once has anyone shown actual proof that doesn't go, well, here is proof for 5 generations. Then I just make the assumption that another family with the same surname are my family, and I go another 4 generations back. To sum up, no, you are not descended from Henry VIII. Well, my husband has obviously been listening to me rant about this too much because he found my post and wrote a comment specifically to wind me up. And it totally worked because I came for another rant to him about this stupid guy online, and he just quietly giggled to himself until he admitted it was him. He Googled random Scottish kings to find one with loads of illegitimate children to make it more plausible. I am actually wetting myself laughing. I will never get him back for this.